If you're still working, still covered by employer insurance, and assuming that healthcare is a future retirement problem, this is the decision that catches most people off guard. Because healthcare isn't something that you plan after retirement. You plan it before, or you end up making rushed, expensive decisions when your options are already limited. And if you're planning to retire in the next few years, the decision is actually closer than it feels. Hey y'all, I'm Cheryl, your corporate country girl, and I'm still working a full-time job, living on my family farm in North Alabama, and actively planning my own retirement step by step. And this channel is for people who are thinking about retiring in the next 5 to 10 years. People who want to make thoughtful decisions before they become urgent. Go ahead and subscribe because everything we talk about here is about avoiding the mistakes that don't show up until they're expensive. And today isn't a Medicare tutorial. It's not a list of plans or premiums. This is about one decision: when you should start planning for health care and why waiting feels safe until it isn't. So one afternoon, I was sitting at my laptop, spreadsheets open, retirement timeline pulled up, and I realized something uncomfortable. I had planned income, taxes, and Social Security timing, but health care, I had mentally filed it under later. And that's exactly what most people do. Here's why that's risky. Healthcare decisions don't line up neatly with your retirement date. They start affecting you years before you stop working. And once certain windows close, you don't get them back. To help keep myself on track, I built out a healthcare planning timeline, and I wanted to share that with you today. So the first 5 to 10 years before retirement, this is awareness mode. You're not making decisions yet. You're noticing things. When your employer coverage ends, whether retiree coverage exists, and how early retirement would affect healthcare timing. And lastly, how healthcare costs could change your cash flow. So this is when you ask questions, not when you panic. And then we get to 1 year before retirement. This is where things get real. You should understand your expected retirement date, when your current coverage actually ends, and whether there will be a coverage gap and what your likely bridge option will be. You're not locked in, but you're no longer guessing either. Most people delay healthcare planning because they feel covered right now, and they assume that Medicare will take care of it, and they don't want to deal with complicated rules. And honestly, this makes sense. But delay doesn't keep things simple. It just pushes complexity into a smaller, more stressful window. Planning for healthcare doesn't mean picking a plan today. It means understanding when employer coverage ends, when Medicare decisions actually start, and what gaps might exist between the two, and how healthcare costs affect your taxes and cash flow. This isn't about perfection. It's about not being surprised. And this is where people get tripped up. Cooper's trying his best to make some cameos here. So 6 months out, this is decision prep mode. This is when timing actually matters. The enrollment windows, the start dates, and how coverage overlaps or it doesn't. And waiting past this point turns planning into scrambling. Then we get to 3 months out. At this point, you should be confirming, not researching from scratch. That's the difference between a calm transition and a stressful one. People assume healthcare is a standalone issue, but it's tightly connected to when you retire, when you claim Social Security, and how much income you show on paper. If you miss that connection, you lose your flexibility. One of the biggest blind spots in retirement planning is what happens between your last day of work and Medicare eligibility. If you retire before 65, there's often a gap, and that gap doesn't fill itself. Planning means at least knowing what category of coverage you might use. There's employer retiree coverage if that's available, COBRA as a short-term bridge for up to 18 months. There's the marketplace plans with the Affordable Care Act, which is also known as Obamacare. And for some people, you may have coverage through a spouse. You don't need to pick one now, but you do need to know which ones are even on the table for you. Because the mistake isn't choosing the wrong option, it's discovering your options too late. And the biggest cost of delaying healthcare planning isn't always money. It's fewer choices, more rushed decisions, and more stress at a time when retirement is supposed to feel lighter. I don't want to reach retirement already feeling behind. What surprised me most wasn't just the cost. It was how healthcare decisions quietly connect to everything else. When you retire, when you claim Social Security, and how much money you show on paper, and even how flexible your tax strategy can be. Healthcare isn't a standalone decision. It's part of the whole retirement puzzle, whether we acknowledge it or not. I had to stop and think, if healthcare affects so many other decisions, why was I treating it like an afterthought? And that question changed how I'm planning the next few years. So you might want to pause me for a second and ask yourself, when do I think healthcare planning starts? And what am I assuming will be just working itself out? If your answer is, I'm not sure, you're not behind, you're right on time. I don't want to reach retirement and realize the hardest decisions were the ones that I kept postponing. Healthcare planning isn't about having all the answers. It's about not being caught off guard. And the earlier you start thinking about it, even lightly, the more control that you keep for yourself. So, I'm not a financial planner or a healthcare expert. I'm just someone who's walking this path, doing this planning, and wanting to share it real time, any of the learnings that I'm making that might help you out along the way. If this helped you think differently about retirement planning, please like the video. It helps more people find it. And subscribe. It is free. If you want calm, practical conversations about getting ready for retirement without panic or hype. I'd love to build a community here for those of us on the road to retirement to support and learn from each other. And by the way, I'd love to know, when did you assume you'd start planning for healthcare in retirement? So drop it into the comments below. There's no wrong answer. It's just different starting points. So thanks for spending time with me and Cooper today. I'll see you in the next one.